Well, I think from the very beginning, it's critically important that you create a climate where students feel comfortable. I might have an activity where they create a name tag, and on that name tag they would put their first name and 5 things about themselves that I wouldn't know just by looking at them. So it might be about their family, their hobbies, their interests, their travels, if they've won the lottery, if they know somebody famous, and they list those 5 things. I then send out an invitation that they're all to arrive at my classroom in, say, 2 minutes wearing their name tag. And they typically all roll their eyes. They think this is going to be awful, and I tell them that's absolutely okay, that that's part of the game. And they have these charges. They have to meet someone and find out something about the other person. But here is the kick. They are not to talk to anybody. And that usually gives them a sense of relief. They think, okay, I can do this. And all they have to do is walk around, have eye contact, shake hands, look at the name, read the list, see if they have anything in common, and then move to the next person. Then I'll have a break, and I'll say, okay, did you find someone that you had something in common with? And then I'll have them pair with that person, and then they'll have a conversation. And typically before it's all over with, I'll either have them introduce that person to other people in the class, maybe in pairs, or we might do a sit down and you stand up and introduce that person. But I try to put it in the framework of, if you were attending a party, how would you meet another person? So by the time the class is over with, they've at least met one person that they know a name and they have something in common with. And I think that makes it much more comfortable for them to come the next time, and then they have something to talk about.
Sometimes I start the first day of class with a question. I ask the students to write on a piece of paper, who am I? And they list, they number the page 1 to 20 and list, who am I? It gives a chance to get to know each other. One will say I'm a baseball player, the other will say I'm a dancer. But then I'm able to put that in a sociological context and say, look at, these are the roles, statuses you occupy, and the roles that we play, and we look at how they're similar and different and how they exist within, they're tied to social institutions. So we start thinking sociologically just right off the bat.
There's a people bingo. That's a fun one where prior to the class, you create a worksheet that would say, find someone that, and then have a blank. Had breakfast this morning, is an only child, is left-handed, travels overseas, bizarre things and common things, and then have blanks. And the game is to find as many people as you can in a short period of time, get their signature, and the kicker is to be sure that you make sure that they engage in a conversation. It can't just be what's your name and write things down, but to actually have a conversation, get that person to write their name down, and then move on. And the goal is to connect with as many people as possible in the class and then fill up the sheet.
A clock is handed out to each student. There are spaces beside each appointment time. Students have 5 minutes to go around the room and try to fill up their clock, making appointments with different students in the class. At the end of the 5 minutes, most students have their base clocks filled, so that during the next class period, they get to sit with a particular appointment. And we do that over a series of lectures, so that they get to meet and interact with different classmates that they probably wouldn't have done if they had just sat in their comfortable own seatings.
Another party game that I sometimes put in a class is 2 truths and a lie. That one is where students will come up with 2 things that are true about themselves and 1 thing that is not true. And they will deliver those 3 items of information, and then the group has to figure out which one is the lie. And that's always kind of fun because some students have some pretty bizarre interests and experiences. They might say, I've met the Pope, I rode in the back seat with Stevie Nicks, and I played the accordion. and then you have to figure out which one's the lie, you know. So it's usually pretty interesting.